Hello YouTube, Axioman here once again with another video to talk about the X-Men. Marvel is on fire right now. uh, I said it in my last video as if it wasn't already good enough that we got the Deadpool trailer Super Bowl Sunday. And then on Valentine's Day, just yesterday, there was another big news bomb drop with the Fantastic Four, only to wake up this morning and get a X-Men animated 97 trailer that just lit the internet on fire. Once again, everything Marvel, hashtag Marvel. And I personally am a huge X-Men fan. They are my number one favorite Marvel comic, Marvel characters. Next to Hellboy, but Hellboy is different comic book publisher. He's Dark Horse. But as far as the X-Men go, or let's just say in general in comics, I would say Hellboy is my number one, but followed maybe equally to them is X-Men, and then the list goes down from there. My X-Men collection is extensive. I have to say that, showing off a little bit. But watching that trailer and the nostalgia that came with it, right? It gives you chills if you grew up in the 90s watching the cartoon, right? And another kind of bit of personal information as it pertains to me, my favorite X-Men character is Cyclops. And not just my favorite X-Men character, my favorite Marvel character in general. The films that have been released to date have never um, made Cyclops what he's supposed to be. I mean, they kind of go out of their way to make him look stupid, almost. I mean, that's putting it nicely. So I've always hated the fact that they've treated his character as they have in the films. So when I watched this trailer, to hear him say those famous Professor X line, uh, famous Professor X words, to me, my X-Men. Woo! I mean, you want to talk about chills, right? You want to talk about nerdgasms and terms like that. I mean, I was losing it. I must have watched that little part a million times by now. Um, but super excited to see this finally dropping. I'm going to admit I forgot that it was coming out so soon. March 20th. I mean, we're on the 15th today, right? I mean, it's a little over a month away. So the fact that we're getting that right away is awesome. It's so good. But just to give you guys a little history lesson as far as comics, I bought this a while back, sent it into CGC to get created. This came out in 1992, and it was the first X-Men comic based specifically on the X-Men animated series. It's the big first premiere issue. And they had to take advantage of the popularity at the time, so might as well just make it a comic. I mean, the X-Men is already a comic, so why not, right? But and then speaking of, the animated series was literally created because of Marvel's number one selling comic book of all time to date. No one's ever been able to sell more copies of this book right here. X-Men 1 by Jim Lee, Chris Claremont writing, and Scott Williams, the inker on this. They sold over 8 million copies in the 90s. If you're a kid of the 90s like me, you had to have owned one of these, right? This is the fold out cover, right? So it has like the characters in the back. And then there was even one more fold out. There's a 4 total. And I have the 4 single issues, all autographed by Chris Claremont, by Scott Williams, and Jim Lee. But, the animated series was only created because of the popularity of this run by Jim Lee. And it sort of launched his career, even though he was already, drawing for Marvel Comics at the time. But, this came out in 1991. And boy, did it blow up. I mean, I can go all the way back into my memories of starting to read comics and honestly say that that X-Men run is what got me into comic books in general. So, of course, I'm going to be, just losing my mind over this and Can't wait. I know there's already some mutants introduced into the MCU, but it's been a little, in my opinion, been a little choppy. Not bad, but a little choppy. But we're heading in the right direction. We're heading in the right direction, I think. Or at least Marvel is. And us fans, well, we're about to find out in the best way possible. But that's it for me. As I said in my last video, collect what you love what you collect, and I'll see you guys in the next one.